Welcome to a Pride Month episode of Diversity Dialogues. I'm John Carr, host of the Amici podcast series. Today I'd like to introduce you to Diego Santiago. Diego is a court attorney referee in New York State Supreme Court who, in his own words, is out and proud, both of his sexual orientation and his Puerto Rican heritage. Today we'll learn about Diego's journey, his job, and his aspirations. By way of background, Diego is a child of parents who came to New York City from Puerto Rico. And note that I did not say they are immigrants. Puerto Ricans are American citizens. Diego is an attorney with degrees from St. John's University and Turo Law. He has taught at several colleges, including Manhattan, Plaza, and Monroe. He's worked for the New York City Administration for Children's Services, as well as a not-for-profit that assists preterm babies and their families. And he's been a volunteer with many organizations, including the New York City Gay Men's Chorus. Diego, thank you for coming on the program and welcome to the program. On your LinkedIn page, you say you have a, quote, passion for social justice, close quote. Where does that come from?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. It's a pleasure to be with you. My passion for social justice it comes from many things, actually, or many areas. First of all, from my legal education, how I was trained to be a lawyer has had an impact on social justice, my passion for social justice, and also my experience as a lawyer. Because when I was sworn in as a lawyer back in 1993, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And for me, that's very important. Because the Constitution is the cornerstone of our democracy. And as an attorney, that oath has to mean something. And for me, I have a passion for justice because that oath means something, to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the Bill of Rights. And I've always been concerned with the well-being of marginalized and oppressed individuals, such as women, African Americans, Latinx people, and of course, the queer community. Mm-hmm. So that's where my passion comes from.
That's beautiful. Let's take a step back, though. Social justice is one of those terms that's bandied around a lot these days, but rarely defined. What does it mean?
That's a very good question. In my opinion, social justice means, or when we achieve social justice, is when everyone receives equal political, economic, and social rights and opportunities and legal protections, regardless of their gender, their race, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, and socioeconomic status, just to name a few.
So basically the promise of our founders that we're still working to realize fully.
Correct.
You mentioned the ability of the law to achieve justice. Can we elaborate on that a little bit and things you saw or things that you encountered as maybe a young lawyer? Let's explore that a little bit if we could.
Sure. I mean, the quest for social justice, lawyers have been at the forefront of it, whether it's civil rights for African Americans, whether it's the struggle for equality among queer people. Lawyers have been there at the front lines, marching, advocating, but also lobbying Congress and other elected officials for change, helping to write legislation. So for me as a young lawyer, my ability to make an impact on social justice and equality is such an important aspect of my job, because I wanted to make sure that everyone I come into contact with in my practice, and of course, since I work for the court system, all of the litigants, I want them to be rest assured that anytime they appear before me, they're getting a fair shake, regardless of their background, regardless of their political ideology. It doesn't matter. They will get a fair shake. And in the courtroom, I will treat people with the respect that they deserve. And especially when it comes to people who, for them, the legal system could be very intimidating, such as people where English is their second language, immigrants or the disabled or other people who may be intimidated by the legal system, because it's hard to understand for lay people in general, but especially for people who have other obstacles in front of them.
That's a wonderful description, answer to my question, and also a wonderful description of why the court system exists.
Thank you.
Now, I noticed you used the word queer. Once upon a time, that was a very, very derogatory term. How did it become not a derogatory term?
Well, it's interesting because like any marginalized community, sometimes we take the words of our oppressors and turn them around to take the power, the negative power away from them and to reclaim them for ourselves. I always knew I was gay, but I even identify more as queer now because I feel it describes me as a person more so than gay. Gay is correct, but I feel queer is more comprehensive of who I am as an individual, both regarding my gender identity and my sexuality or sexual orientation, which are two separate things. So the word queer can also be a political statement. People who identify as queer sometimes have a very specific political ideology or orientation as to where they want to be in the process of advocating for our rights, whether it's behind the scenes, giving money to organizations, or on the front lines, marching. So for someone to say they're queer could mean very different things. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's social, and sometimes it's identity-based.
And in this month is particularly apropos because queer is now not a word to be used in shame, but a word to be used in pride, correct?
Absolutely. The word pride and Pride Month means being happy with who you are, loving yourself, and releasing all of the shame and all of the negativity that has been hurled at us over centuries, really. And with the modern gay rights movement, which was in the 1960s in San Francisco and then in New York City, Stonewall, the queer diaspora, if I were to call it, is such an important aspect of American history. And for June, because the Stonewall riots occurred in June of 1969, was the first time queer people stood up to the oppression by law enforcement. And it is a benchmark for our community to stand proud. And the Pride Parade is attended by millions every year. And not just in New York City, but cities around the world, even Tel Aviv and other cities around the world. So Pride Month, June, is such an important month for queer people because it's an example of us being free and comfortable in our skin and self-accepting, not just waiting for others to accept us, but to accept ourselves.
That's a beautiful answer, and thank you for that. I have heard straight people say, I'm heterosexual. I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm not proud of it. And I think you just nicely explained what the difference is and why that term is used, and I appreciate that. Now, you said that you always knew you were queer. So when was it initially a oh no or a so what?
An oh no, or maybe what's going on is more likely the feeling of the time. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I realized something was different about me. I couldn't put my finger on it. As a 4 or 5 year old, you're not a sexual being yet. You haven't reached puberty, right? So you don't know. I didn't know what exactly it was, but I knew something was different. I had different sensibilities, perhaps, and attitudes than most of my young male peers. I identified a lot with women and how they felt about things. So I was more in touch, perhaps, with my feminine side. And maybe that's what tipped some people off that I might be gay. And I started to like boys. I wanted to hug them, hold their hand, kiss them, just like a boy would want to kiss a little girl. And then I said, why is that? Why me? Why is that happening to me? I didn't understand it. And the more I tried to fight it, the stronger it got.
So were you always out, or there was a time when you came out?
No, I did not come out until I was 26 to everyone. I came out to my college girlfriend at 21. And we stayed together, but then she realized, that it was not a good idea for us to be together romantically. I didn't say I was gay because I didn't know it yet. I just said I'm attracted to guys. And so I didn't come out as gay until 26 to my law school girlfriend. And then in 1993, I came out to my friends, coworkers, and family. And for the most part, they've been very supportive. I came out to my mother in 1997, the same year Ellen DeGeneres came out. And she took it very hard at first, but she came around. My siblings, my nieces and nephews have been very, very supportive. And my father, who was ill with Parkinson's at the time, I never officially came out to him, but he knew. He found out and he was fine with it. So the coming out process has been really very positive for me for the most part, with very limited exceptions. And I'm very lucky. I feel very fortunate about that.
That's great. What is your advice to a 14-year-old teenager dealing with that right now? Do I come out? Do I keep it quiet? What do I do? Or is that just basically an individual decision?
One of the most wonderful things about being 59 years old and gay is that I feel that I have a lot to say to younger people. So if I had an opportunity to speak to a young person, whether they're in their preteens or teens, I would tell you first, if you feel that you may have feelings for the same sex or maybe queer, no one should force you to come out. You only do so when you're ready and you feel safe to do it. The second is to surround yourself with people who are supportive and open-minded. And when you're ready to tell your parents and your family, sit them down and tell them. And it's a scary thing. Some people, unfortunately, have had bad experiences with coming out, such as being disowned, rejected, ridiculed, or ignored. And it's a calculated risk to take. It's a very difficult one. But I think if children know and young people know that there are organizations out there that can help them come out, such as the Hedrick Martin Institute in New York City and the New York City LGBTQ Center for Youth Services, they can really understand how it's much better these days to come out than it was 20, 25 years ago, especially since we have openly gay actors and politicians and other prominent individuals. So that's my advice to a teenager. And first and foremost, to be happy and with who you are, to be proud of who you are, and to love yourself, and to understand that it's okay to be afraid, because it's normal to feel that way.
That's probably good advice. That's probably good advice to any teenager.
And things get better. They do.
What's your advice to the parents of that teenager?
Love. Love is the most important thing. If a child knows that they are loved, regardless, if they are loved unconditionally, that is the biggest gift you can give your child. To be patient, to be accepting, and tell them that you support them. And if you have some trouble adjusting to it, because it's normal for parents to feel the way, you can be honest with your child and say, I'm having a tough time with it, and tell them you're processing it, and they will understand. They will understand that you might need time to come around, but let them know that you love them, and remember, your dreams for your children are not the same as theirs. And so even though their dreams may not be the same as yours, it doesn't mean that it's bad. And so for me, love is the most important thing. If a child knows that they're loved, that's a great foundation for everything else.
One of the things that strikes me is the advice you gave for the teenager and the parents are equally applicable to someone who is gay and someone who is not. The advice for parents is precisely what every parent should aspire to do. The advice for the teenager was exactly what a teenager should aspire to do, which I think says something in itself, that it's very much the same. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. I mentioned that your parents are from Puerto Rico. When and why did they come to the mainland? And note that I did not say emigrate intentionally.
Correct. You are correct. That is a trigger word for Puerto Ricans, because we do not immigrate here. We're not immigrants. We are U.S. citizens.
Thank you.
Through and through, with some limitations, unfortunately, because we are a Commonwealth of the United States. So we do not have full voting rights as if you live on the island, right? If you're a resident of Puerto Rico. But our history of Puerto Rico and being a colony, as I like to call it, of the United States, and how the colonization of Puerto Rico has been difficult for people. It was difficult for my parents because of some of the laws that the United States has imposed on Puerto Rico. It's difficult. It's expensive to get goods, very difficult to get goods, a lot harder than if you live in the mainland. So my parents came here in 1964 to seek better opportunities for themselves and for their children. I'm the youngest of 7. So my parents had a lot riding on this journey to New York City, which of course at that time was the place to be if you were coming from Puerto Rico.
Now, you're the youngest of 7. So how many children did your parents have when they came up?
6. I was the only child born in New York. So I'm considered Nuyorican.
Nuyorican, I like that.
Yes, Nuyorican. Whereas language, I'm very proud to be Puerto Rican. I go to Puerto Rico. I feel like I'm at home over there. And that's the wonderful thing. Even if you come here as a Puerto Rican, you can always visit the homeland of your people and feel just as at home as if you do in New York, if New York is where you were born and raised.
Yeah, you don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico.
Absolutely not.
Do you think you faced any distinct or special challenges being both gay and Puerto Rican?
Yes, I would like to preface what I'm going to say with only in the last 10 years, I feel that I've been able to reclaim my ethnic identity and my sexual identity, because I've had to deal with religious dogma about marriage, children, etc. from the Catholic Church. I was raised Roman Catholic, and that made me feel I'm like an outsider, like an outcast. So I've had to deal with homophobia in the Latinx community. The idea of machismo, as we say, that you have to be, if you're a male, you have to be masculine. And you have to act a certain way, otherwise you're not man enough, so to speak. So that's a difficult issue for many queer Latinx people. And of course, I had to deal with racism within the LGBTQ community. So those are, I think, the special challenges of being both queer and Latinx, in my case, Puerto Rican, is that we've gotten it from both sides. And of course, I've gotten, people don't think I'm Puerto Rican enough because I wasn't born on the island. And of course, and then people have asked me stupid questions like, do you have your green card? Or, or even microaggression, as we call it. Diego, you're so articulate. Those are ways.
Are we supposed to be surprised?
Exactly, which is nothing wrong with having an accent, right? But that is the stereotype that they assume. And so, yeah, the special challenges were to overcome the stereotypes that people have about Latinx people and about queer people. And I've overcome it by showing myself and being comfortable with myself and being the best lawyer I can be, being the best person I can be, being the best Puerto Rican I can be, loving my culture, my music, my food, all of those things. And of course, knowing my gay history as well, not only my Puerto Rican history, but knowing our heroes in the gay community like Harvey Milk and Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, right? Or my Puerto Rican heroes such as Pedro Albizu Campos or other freedom fighters from Puerto Rico. That helps me overcome those challenges I just spoke about.
I imagine it was a considerable challenge for your parents, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from, both religious pressure and cultural pressure. And so you said you're the youngest of 7, right?
Yes.
Are any of your siblings gay?
Yes. I have one more gay sibling, my sister Magda. She is a lesbian and proud of it. And she's married, as am I. And we both have loving partners in our lives who are there for us. So we're very fortunate. She came out first. And I'll tell you, it's interesting. When she came out to me, I even had my own stereotypes. When she came out to me, I said, but you're so pretty, which, of course, is a stereotype.
Of course.
Lesbians look a certain way, right? Even I had that. So, but I was fortunate. I had my sister to look up to as someone who came out and leads a successful and happy life.
So even after going through that once, your parents still struggle to do it again with you?
Yes. I think it was less difficult because my sister paved the way. It was still difficult for my mother because she was extremely Catholic, extremely religious. My father, less so. My father was spiritual, and yes, he went to church, but he was more of a laid back, he was a World War II veteran. He saw a lot of things. So his son being gay was not really a big deal. The Santiago name will carry on as both of my brothers have sons. So that probably helped a little bit. But I will never take for granted how fortunate I was to have two loving parents who, despite my mother's difficulty with it at first, I was very fortunate she met my husband before she died, and she adored him. So I'm very happy about that.
Now, at St. John's, I think you majored in history, right?
Yes.
Was it your thinking at that point that I'm going to go to law school?
Absolutely not. I always loved science. And so I wanted to be a doctor. And I started out as pre-med at St. John's as a biology major. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. I wasn't dedicated enough at the time. I rebelled a little later in life. Instead of rebelling in high school, I rebelled in college, finding out all the freedoms I had, that the professors didn't care if you showed up to class or not. So I started hanging out and realizing, oh, wow, I've got all this time to hang out. And so my grade suffered. And then I realized I didn't have the dedication for a medical career as was necessary. And at that point, it was already a year and a half into my college studies. I said I probably should choose another path. And it was either journalism or law. And I chose journalism. I chose law. And actually, law chose me because I felt like a calling, so to speak. And I decided to be a history major because I felt that being a student of history would greatly prepare me for a legal career. And it did. I also minored in government and politics, so that helped a lot too. So that was my path, and I don't have any regrets because it taught me a lot about who I was and who I am. I still love science. I'm still fascinated by medicine, and so that has never gone away.
Early on, or in law school, what type of lawyer did you think you were going to be? What sort of law did you plan to practice?
I wanted to be a lawyer that defended the constitutional rights of people. I wanted to litigate civil rights cases. And of course, at the time in the early 90s, the job market was very bad. It was very tough. And so I got the first job that I could get. And that was working for New York City's Human Resources Administration as an attorney prosecuting paternity and child support cases for those who were receiving public assistance. So the city would recoup those child support monies, and I was part of that. And I tell you, it was an amazing experience. I got my feet wet in trying cases, and so that was a great experience for me. And I ended up working for the family court itself for 18 years. I worked as a court attorney for judges that dealt with child protection issues like abuse and neglect. And I was a support magistrate for 4 years. So family law was something that, once again, came into my life unexpectedly. And it turned out that it was something that I found really rewarding, extremely challenging to deal with issues such as child abuse, domestic violence, right? Things of that sort. But it has been extremely rewarding.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. So what does a court attorney referee do?
Court attorney, we're called referees because judges refer cases to us. So we're quasi-judicial employees that hear and report or hear and determine or decide financial and other types of cases that Supreme Court justices refer to us. These cases are mostly financial in nature, such as damages or financial issues in matrimonial divorce proceedings, but they can also be factual in nature. So we do legal research, we write decisions, we meet with litigants and lawyers to try to settle matters, and we try cases. We conduct hearings, we make rulings on evidence, and we determine the credibility of witnesses, just like a judge does. And if we hear and determine, our decisions are appealable to higher court.
Now, you've been with the court system, did you say 23 years?
Yes.
Has the treatment of the gay community by the court system toward its employees, has that improved, changed? Was it always good? Has it got a long way to go, or where are we with that?
It has improved greatly and has a way to go, but it has improved greatly. I noticed there's much more acceptance and understanding of queer people than when I first started with the court system of 2001, with certain exceptions, of course. The courts have been very adamant about promoting equality and acceptance regarding marginalized communities, such as the LGBTQ community. There are rules in place protecting employees from discrimination. There are many seminars and continuing education classes that the court sponsors regarding queer issues. There are many more openly gay, openly queer people in the court system as employees than ever before, even at the highest echelons of the system, including judges, clerks. So yes, it's greatly improved, and the Access to Justice program and other programs that the court has, especially regarding diversity, equality, are very inclusive, more inclusive than ever. So yes, it has improved greatly. Could it be better? There's always room for improvement, but the court has made great strides in ensuring that everyone, whether it's litigants or the employees themselves, feel not only welcome but accepted.
Well, society has made great strides, and I'm glad we're not lingering behind, and I hope we're leading that a little bit.
That is the hope, but the quest for justice is never ending. We can never rest too comfortably on our laurels because there are forces at work, well-funded, well-organized, that are adamant about my demise and the demise of people such as myself, queer people. And I'm aware of that. It's a little scary out there today. Imagine what would happen if we had no marriage rights. My husband's injured in the hospital, I have no rights to see him. If he dies, I have no right to any of his property. I could lose everything. The secrets that we have among each other, we don't have the marital privilege where, you can't be compelled to testify against your lawfully wedded spouse. Those are things that I worry about. And the current climate where there are people who really want to take away all of the advances that we've made, it's very scary. My motto is, if you don't like gay marriage, don't marry a gay person. Simple as that. Don't marry a gay if you don't like it. And that's why June Pride is so important, because our visibility is our survival.
How are you going to celebrate Pride Month?
I celebrate in many ways. Marching at the Pride Parade, I'll do that. Attending Pride celebration events citywide. Wearing the rainbow flag and other queer identifying clothes is important. And posting things on social media that are queer identified and celebrating what it means to be out and proud.
Wonderful. And finally, let's end on a musical note, although maybe not literally, although we could if you want. Tell me about your involvement with the Gay Men's Chorus. So what is it? Why is it? Why did you get involved? And what do you like to sing?
I like to preface this by telling lawyers everywhere, make sure you have an artistic or other type of creative outlet for yourself. Law is a wonderful profession, but sometimes we can get so wrapped up in it we forget to have another type of outlet other than professional for ourselves. And for me, it was joining the New York City Gay Men's Chorus. The New York City Gay Men's Chorus is a 44-year-old nonprofit organization committed to celebrating our queer identity through joy and song. We perform throughout the year in New York City, in the New York City area, at schools, community centers, sporting events, museums, and in our major spring and winter concerts at the NYU's Skirball Center in Greenwich Village. And like I said, this is our 44th year, and our message is our joy is a protest. And I auditioned for the chorus in August of 2023 and was chosen as a tenor to upper. It has changed my life by getting me out of the house, being more connected to the gay community, and singing, which I have done since I was a child. I always had an ear for music, and the chorus was a way for me to sing with my own queer community and with joy. And once again, about visibility. Everywhere that we're visible, it helps us survive. So I love to sing a variety of music. It doesn't really matter, rock, pop, R&B, country. If the melody strikes me, I'll sing it. If I'm able to, with my own limitations, right? But I love to sing. It takes me to my happy place. And so I highly recommend it for any lawyer out there or any court employee. Find an artistic outlet for yourself. You will reap untold benefits.
Is there a gay anthem?
Not necessarily a gay anthem. Of course, anything by Judy, Garland, Barbra Streisand, Madonna, those are all big gay icons. And it's interesting. A lot of people ask me, why do gay men love powerful women so much, or divas, singing divas, we love powerful women because they embody everything that gay men kind of want to be. That feminine side of ourselves, that's softer but strong, I think we identify with that. So when we see a Judy Garland or Barbra Streisand or Madonna or Cher, strong women who live life on their own terms, it really speaks to us. So when people wonder, why do they love Madonna so much? Why do they love, Cher so much? It's because they embody a lot of the qualities that we love. And of course, they love the gay community too. So
that's fascinating. I mean, I don't think any of those people you mentioned are gay, are they?
No, one. There's a great song that we sing with the chorus called "I Will Transform." I'll sing you a little bit. I'll do you a little bit. It goes, "'Cause if I'm not your cup of tea, that's okay by me. There's no need to moan and groan, leave me and my rights alone. You do you and I'll do me, best of luck with your conformity. While you're following the norm, take a look, take a look, take a look, I will transform." Yeah, that's from our song, "I Will Transform."
Wonderful. Thank you. That was beautiful. How could we not be happy in Pride Month, knowing that we're celebrating is joy and song? Diego, thank you so much for your openness, your insight, and in this interview.
I'm very happy to share my experiences because I think I benefit from talking about it, and I hope people will benefit from hearing about it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity, and I want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month, even our non-queer allies. Thank you for your love and support. It's really important.